call the Schuylkill. I'd like to call the Schuylkill Township Supervisors meeting to order. Shall we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Due to a situation we have, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call where we usually have the executive session. Afterwards, we have a situation that we want to talk about, and we're going to have an executive session now and also after the meeting. So I'd have hear a motion to move into executive session.
So move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to move into executive
Sorry
session.
to make you leave your seats for a few
Yep.
minutes.
I'd like to call a meeting to the Schuylkill Township Supervisors meeting back to order to our regular meeting. We discussed personnel issues and any litigation purposes personally. And I'd like to make a motion. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I would
I
make a
could make it,
motion.
but go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to appoint,
To rescind,
excuse me?
to rescind.
I was going to do the
Okay.
positive first.
Go ahead.
We got to rescind before we make the.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to make a motion to rescind the previous resolution appointing Madeline Harbison as the acting township manager. And as part of the same motion, I would like the board to approve appointing Norm Butts as acting township manager based on his 2 days per week.
And the salary will be the same, prorated as Mary Bird's salary on an hourly basis.
And out, yes,
Yep.
on it, correct. Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Thanks
Thank you,
again,
Norm.
Norm.
And thank you, Madeline.
Yes. Of course, we're not going to let you off the hook.
There was nothing negative towards Madeline at all.
No, and not at
Nothing,
all.
Nothing.
Just
at
give her
all.
a little bit of
Yes.
breathing space.
I'd like to let you know the meeting's going to be videotaped by the township. Is anybody else recording the meeting so that all attendees of the meeting are aware? Okay, thank you. I'd like the approval of the reorganization meeting minutes of January 6th, 2014, and the and the regular business meeting minutes of January 6th, 2014. And the acceptance of reports, all departmental, committee, commission, council reports is posted and received by the Board of Supervisors. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just need to make one quick comment here. There's some, on the Historical Commission's report, it seemed like it was lacking some detail, and that's all I'll say about it. I intend to get with Sandy on it, and also Barbara.
Ms. Liaison.
So that's all I have to say.
Okay. In deference to Sandy, she had been planning to attend our supervisors meeting
Right.
that originally had been scheduled for last night. So it's just possible she wasn't able to be here this evening.
That's all I've got.
Okay. So we've got motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? So moved. I have it may be out of order, but I should have said beforehand. As you know, the past couple of days has been quite hectic for this township. We've had a number of people here have been out of power. Some of us, people sitting in the audience, still are without power. Three of us here, four of us on the board have been out of power. One or two of them are still out of power.
Yeah.
We have one of our board commissioners where a tree went through his roof and almost hit his wife. Came down in the dining room and the living room, Fred Hahnemann. And we called a state of emergency for snow and ice removal. We declared that. We've had the FEMA operations going for the last 2 days now. Kevin has been out and about with the police and with the fire, and they worked very closely. We have some very stringent problems right now within our township. We have a number of roads that are still closed down and are going to be closed down, and we're working with PennDOT, and I'm going to let Kevin give you an update on anything that's going on. Kevin?
No, thank you, Fred. The road barriers that are out there now are for your safety and safety for the people, the residents of the township. Please do not go around them. Pico and Asplund are working as hard as they can to get the power back up and running. The problem is that we've cleared, the roads crew have cleared, they have cleared, along with some of the police department, all the trees that are down along the township roads that aren't touching the power lines. The ones that are touching the power lines can be hot, or they consider them hot. So please do not drive underneath them. Do not go around them. Do not just stay away from them. And Pico and Asplund, who are trained, they will cut them and remove them. And as those trees come down, we will clear the roads as fast as possible and open up everything. With regards to 23 and 252, that will be closed, I've heard, as short as 3 days from now, or it could be as long as 3 weeks,
Oh, my.
okay?
Wow.
Depending on, they're still digging right now, with regards down at the 230 and 252 exit, entrance right there at the light. And they're, what I had last heard was they're air flying in a 8-foot section of the pipe that they need to put in, into the street. But they're still digging, and as I heard, they were 20 feet down and still digging.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've been down there or not, John. Okay, okay, you're lucky. Yeah, I have not gone down in there, but this is the reports that I've heard. But other than that, we'll keep an eye on it as much as we can.
Any other roads closed?
Well, Country Club's closed. Valley Park Road is still closed, correct, Chief? Oh, you have not? Okay.
Well, no, Country Club between 23 and Valley Park is open.
So they did put the electric up?
Whatever was wrong with it, they've taken it out.
Okay, so there's
There
no
are
more blah, blah,
There's no
okay.
barrier there.
Okay.
But,
All right.
But Valley Park has got a barrier from Country Club going towards the firehouse. In fact, at the firehouse, it's all the way across the road. You can't get beyond that up the hill.
Yeah, because there's the wire down. There's
Ah.
one of the electric wires are down on the ground.
It's still hot, to my knowledge.
It is very hot, so they don't want anybody going down there.
The upper end Country Club, it was closed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been reopened yet.
Yeah,
Is that by Norm's? Is that
Going up toward Norm's.
Going up toward north, above
Well-
Valley Park.
At my place, it's open and then there's barriers.
down because there's wires hanging down just past Valley Forge Woods
Yeah.
and down to
Valley Park.
Valley Park.
Oh, okay.
Is closed because there are low wires, hanging wires. Route 29, I got a call from Lieutenant, is up and running. It's open.
I had not received
Yeah.
any news about that.
Lieutenant
You
told
mean
me that
going
this
toward
afternoon.
Ashenfelter?
No, 29 towards,
Waller?
yeah, going out of the township into
Great Valley.
Charlestown, yeah, Great
Oh,
Valley.
okay.
White Horse is completely open.
Except tonight, as I was coming over from the Marriott, there was a salting truck out.
Okay.
There's one section
That's ice,
that's
okay.
icy there.
Okay.
And Pauling's Road is still closed?
Pauling's, when I left this evening to come here, Pauling's, there was some activity down there. It looked like there might have been a clearing truck there, but I don't know. But there
But
was,
as of right now, it's
yeah,
still closed?
as of right now, it's still closed.
Just to be clear, that's the section between Perry Lane
And 23.
23.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's a lot of activity going on in the township right now.
Wow.
And I give props to not only the fire department, but also the police department and definitely the roads crew.
Most
They were
definitely.
unbelievably working very, very hard and a lot of long hours.
Yep.
And they're doing a great job. So please bear with them, bear with us until.
We hope that all of you out there have listened to the problems that we have within our township. We have done all we can to make it safe for the taxpayers, and getting the branches, the trees, such off the roads, but we are not responsible for the hot wires, and we do not want to get anybody hurt. We are very concerned about any shut-ins, any problems with down power and such like that. We think we're covered there. Our FEMA people are there. We have a warm place to go to at Barclay Elementary School if it's necessary. It is pet-friendly, so we can go there also. We hope that you're listening to us and know that the snow removal, you know that right now, they're saying there's going to be a forecast for Saturday and Sunday, more snow. We'll take care of that as it happens, because you know they try to get us scared before the fact rather than after the fact. So anyhow, just know, Warren Kemp, our representative, is doing a fine job in getting things done for us. He's got 2 storm updates. If you go to your internet, there's a storm update twice by him of different places that we can go to and such like that. We all here take all of this very seriously and are very concerned about you out there to ensure that everything's taken care of for all of you. Do I hear anything else?
No, sir.
We carry on with our meeting. We have any 2-minute reports at all from any of the liaisons of the committees or such?
No, sir.
Do you have
No.
anything regional?
No, the Valley Forge TMA meeting was canceled.
Okay. Mhm.
Jim did attend an update on a transportation seminar that was held. Do you
Well,
want to share what you
I actually, this came out of the Regional Planning Committee's meeting, and Barbara had gotten some information about 2 meetings.
And I couldn't attend, so,
Going on last week, and she couldn't attend, so she encouraged others to go. I said I could go to one of them, and it turned out I could go to both of them. So the first meeting was involved SEPTA, the Norristown High-Speed Line. It's going to be extended from Norristown to King of Prussia.
right.
The big hanging question out there is what's the route going to be? It's going to be on the surface, it's going to be elevated, a combination, that kind of thing. And they're going through a whole process on this. They've had public input, and they're trying to respond to it. So it's a work in progress. It looks like that one of the terminuses will be in the vicinity, and that's more a very general term, of the Radisson Hotel, but you could draw a quarter-mile circle around that or greater. It's not clear exactly where it's going to be. Second meeting involved grant opportunities presented by Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission for alternative transportation programs. And that can get translated into mostly trails, but also sidewalks and culverts and that kind of thing. It's a competitive grant announcement opportunity. The catch is you basically have to be shovel ready. You have to have a feasibility study in your hip pocket, so to speak, because the time frame for application is pretty tight. The deadline's a couple months from now.
April 12th.
I don't see that as applying to us at this point. But there are a lot of people attending it. So those are the two.
And thank you very much for substituting for me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Okay, shall we go on to the, our treasurer for our payment of bills and such, and
Okay.
our budget, what's going on?
Okay. If you guys remember last month, we actually approved a preliminary December treasurer's report. We all got copies of the official December.
Got it. So we December and January.
So we have December and January's. If you notice, the balance at the end of the year, December 31st, was just over $1.8 million in our general fund balance, which is really good. It gives us enough carryover so that we can pay our bills and things like that for our very lean revenue months. If you look at our treasurer's report for January, ending January 31st, we have a balance of just over 1.5 million. So we're in good shape. Everything is looking as it should. Yes, we do have some pretty large bills for all of the snow removal and all of the work that's been done these past couple of snowstorms that we've had, but we're still in really good shape for all of this. I reviewed all of our bills for the month this afternoon, and everything is as it should be, and everything is in order, and I'd like to approve the bills to be paid.
That motion?
Do I hear a motion to accept the treasurer's board and to pay the bills?
I make
for
that motion.
this month?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Being the, we've gone over some of the roads and such, however, our chief has come in just now, and do you want to make any announcements or anything, chief, about Kevin has given a little synopsis on what's happened down at the 252 and such, and also Pauling's Road, and we've made some comments about not touching any wires, hot wires or such like that, that we've gotten all the branches up and everything like that. And is there anything more that I want you to pass on to your people? Nick is near. Thank you for all the extra efforts that you've done, such like that. And especially to you, I know I wasn't expecting you in here because you're pretty tired. What's going on?
Well, I just finished opening up Pauling's Road, so that's now open, sold, and.
Oh, good.
Great, thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And actually, I got back here, and one of my guys called me and said, you left a tree laying out in the road. Another one fell.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
my-
Chop that up real quick. 252 and 23, off the record, there's a possibility that may be open late tomorrow night.
Really?
Yeah, they found the brake, the parts, one in the airplane, on its way here. So they think that they can have that wrapped up either tomorrow night or probably Saturday, if everything goes well.
Wow.
They initially said 2 to 3 weeks.
Are they able to do night work?
Yeah, they're working
They're-
on a lot.
Yeah,
I think they have 2 different companies
just
that are
rotate.
holding
Yeah.
ships down there.
There was something in the preliminary agenda about Pauling's Road and the potholes, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the whole thing's a pothole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll
Pauling's
fix that
Road
in
is-
the spring.
Yeah.
That's minor stuff compared to the trees.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to repave that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bad again.
Yeah, it's so dark under there. It is so difficult to see where those problems are occurring.
So right now, we have Country Club Road still closed. Drug Hollow Road is a disaster.
Mhm.
There's wires and trees down all over the place. And then Valley Forge Mountain, pretty much, Continental Drive, I believe we're okay on. We got all the trees cut up in there.
Mhm.
Forge Mountain, there's numerous trees, poles, and everything else broke down. Did you mention about the damage to the truck?
No.
Nick and Bill were up cutting the tree, and they just finished, and Bill got the truck to move it to another spot, and the tree came down and landed right on top of the cab.
Wow.
Yep.
So, he's fine.
Nobody hurt.
Thank
Needs a little
goodness.
bit of work.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna
No injuries?
No injuries.
Good.
Thank goodness.
There's been, knock on wood, no injuries
Yeah.
this whole storm.
Wow.
Other than that, I think,
Can you get us our electricity back, please?
well, you know,
I can tell you,
It sounds like
Jim
you're doing a
is
great
working
job.
very, very hard. I know he's been on the phone a lot with
Oh,
Pico.
wow.
Was it Asplund that cleared Paulings? Did
yeah,
he?
they brought a group in from Connecticut.
Okay.
I just happened to meet up with them and they went down there. And,
Were they heading up on the mountain
I
next?
don't know where they were.
Okay.
And, other than that, that detour is kind of troublesome for us right now, but we're working around it.
The 23-252
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's posted, because it was an emergency job, and so we have traffic coming down 23, going either way, Berry Lane or Country Club, but if they go Country Club, then they're coming right back up to here, and they're going out Whitehorse. 29 supposedly
Open.
is open.
Bill
except-
called me and said
except
there's
for
one.
one little branch that's hanging,
Yeah.
and I was on the phone with Representative Pico today, he's gonna see about getting that taken care of too. So,
How about, do we have any hindrance, other than a couple of the roads about the school district buses getting around to pick up the kids or such like
They
that?
are closed as of
I
tomorrow.
know they're closed tomorrow.
My kids are
However,
excited.
well, when they went in late, or let out early, I should say, we had no incidents with the buses.
Mhm.
They did very well. And then the last couple of days, you know.
it was on the news that we closed for tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only because they, I mean, there's no way you're gonna bus on the mountain, so. And that's all wires, intertangled, so there's not much we can do,
Mhm.
especially since we're starting to re-energize and stuff.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Jim, thank you again.
Thank you.
And Jay.
Go home and go to bed.
All right, is there any public participation at all? Okay. Shall we move into the board discussion item, old business, legal matters? Bill?
Briefly, we'll talk about Scheller and Gray in executive session. Ozarowski, we filed our brief, and the other side will file their brief. Judge will decide it. That's my report. Thank you.
And he did it all in one breath, too.
Under new business, the motion to approve the audit of the tax collector accounts for 2013 by auditing from the Barbicane, Thornton and Company at a cost of $3,900. Our treasurer, do you approve of that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to make that motion.
All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Some discussion on that, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
We have two motions here in front of us. We have the motion for the 3,900, and then we have this, the follow-on motion, the next one coming up, to approve additional services.
Mhm. That's completely separate from the audit.
Okay, all right.
We'll talk about the second one when we get to
But we
it.
don't have a dollar amount for that yet, apparently.
No.
Let's discuss that one when it comes up.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
okay, I just, they look like they might have been tied together.
No, they're not tied together.
One.
Jim, I
Okay.
looked at it too, and I thought that they should be combined, but
No, they can't be combined
That was my
because
first-
it's
that was
two
my
separate
first one.
issues.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
two separate
all right,
issues.
Okay, so that's my
Yeah.
comment. We've got first, we've got a motion and a second.
all right, we got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Second motion is to approve the additional services of the certified public accounting firm of Barbicane, Thornton and Company to assist township personnel with internal control procedures and year-end adjustments at the firm's standard hourly rates plus out-of-pocket expenses. And that's ongoing now. Not now?
No.
Okay.
This is
Do you want to
completely
explain
separate.
something about that?
So I think we should make a motion and second first and then have discussion.
It doesn't make any difference.
I'll make
Okay.
the motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Madeline, could you give them a little bit more, because I know that this is something that you wanted to have with this.
In last year's audit, there were some procedures and corrections to be made to our accounting system to bring everything up to where it should be. Being that until we brought Eileen on board, we didn't have accountants working the accounting software. There may have been some internal control procedures that were not implemented in their entirety. I had talked to the CPA firm and asked them if we could get help to make sure that our accounting software was exactly where it needed to be in order to use it to its maximum, instead of having to do so many things manually. They said that, yes, they do that, they'd be happy to do that. And the difference between these two costs is that they perform an audit on a flat fee. The accounting help would be on a hourly basis, and they don't know how much it will be because it depends on what we end up needing help with, what level of complexity.
Would we upgrade our accounting systems in the office based on their recommendation? And is that separate, or would new software be forthcoming from them as part of their services?
We have a very powerful software package
Okay.
And we're not using it to its
that
potential.
nobody was properly trained on.
So they're gonna
Which
train.
means that there were a lot of things being done, although the numbers came out right, trying to, when an auditor looks at it and trying to look at the path to where the number came to be, it's spaghetti. Because we don't understand how it should be. With Eileen's help and also with Barbara Kane helping to correct what we haven't been doing properly, we will get it to where it needs to be.
Does everyone have access to this, other than, everybody in the admin have access to the software?
Yes.
Okay. Who's gonna be doing the training? Eileen?
Yeah.
Everyone is?
Because
Somebody from Barbican?
Barbara Kane.
No,
And
getting-
they're
I'm
not-
sorry, getting
they're
the
not-
training.
They're not training us.
Yep.
They're helping us implement the internal control procedures that they recommended last year.
Okay, so is everyone gonna be taking that class too, or whatever that?
They are going to be working with Eileen, with me,
Okay.
and depending on Mary's return, with Mary.
I just wanted to sort of redundant, so that if something happened to Eileen, you can do it, and if, yep, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
Perfect, that's all I wanted.
And right now, we all handle
Yep.
different
Okay.
areas of it as,
Almost like a
control
cross-training,
procedures.
like cross-training, which is perfect.
I'm sorry.
Is there any other discussion?
One brief thing, Fred, the public is entitled to know what you're spending when you're spending it. There's a big problem in Coatesville now. They hired a solicitor and didn't, make public what the hourly was. Do we have their written list of hourly rates?
I do not, I can obtain that.
Do we have a sort of not to exceed number,
Well,
or?
When is the work to start? Right away?
When we tell them to start. So I can bring it up again in March.
I hate to push it off, but there really should be attached schedule, so anyone who looks, because if their standard hourly is out of whack with what is appropriate, then you're subject to
Why can't we
criticism.
add that to the motion in accordance with the attachment of the set hours?
Because we don't know what it is yet.
We don't know
That's
what
the
rate
thing,
is.
we don't know.
We have them.
Yeah, but they're doing the audit. This is a
understand
different
that.
part of
Do we have a
their
paper in the
agenda.
office with their numbers that we could attach?
The audit is done at a.
No, I meant the hourly. Do we have a piece of paper that shows their
They
hourly?
were going to bring it or email it to me. They may have.
We don't have
We don't have
currently.
email, yeah.
So we can put it, this is something that can be, it's backfilling information, so it doesn't have to be decided.
It's a technicality, but I don't want to see the public come in and say.
No,
you
I would
hired
recommend that
somebody
we,
not knowing-
we not
Table
do
it.
anything.
I think we should table it.
Okay, we can table this, and the reason why we can table this, you have to understand what internal controls are. Internal controls are just procedures that that you should follow to prevent, and I don't like to put it this way, but it's the best way to put it for people to understand it. You put internal controls in place to prevent fraud or theft. And there is no one in our office that is stealing anything from us or doing anything fraudulently. This was a recommendation last year that our auditing firm said, hey, look, you've got these gaps in your internal controls. You really do need to close these gaps. And the way we can close these gaps is by using our software to its potential. And the accounting firm can help our office staff with this. So this is not
Staple the rates to it, that's all.
Pardon me?
Just staple the hourly rates and we're good.
Right,
There-
and
there-
so basically what Madeline is saying is this doesn't have to happen this month. It can
Right.
happen next month, so we can table this for next month.
All right, we've had the motion.
We just
Wait,
need
wait,
more
wait, Fred,
details.
Absolutely.
More to this. What went through my mind is this is a consulting engagement, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe it might be a good idea to have a ceiling, not to exceed amount.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, which I don't see anyway.
yeah,
Well-
once we have their rates, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about rates.
Yeah,
I'm-
once we have their rates, and then we also find what the scope of the work would be, we can actually come up with a ceiling. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
all right,
good.
All right, good.
All right, we've had the motion. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Wait.
No, we're tabling it.
Tabling it.
People, a motion, it's been approved, it's been seconded. If no one votes on it, it's tabled,
Thank you.
okay?
Okay. Done.
It's in my eye.
Motion is tabled. Thank you. Motion to approve the speaker fee of $1,000 for Mike McGrath, host of WHHY's You Bet Your Garden, to present at the Township September Resident Forum.
I'll make a
Martha?
motion.
I'll second. Martha, tell everyone who he is.
Well, first of all, we have an open meeting at our, we have our 4 meetings every year at the Phoenixville Country Club, and we had an open meeting in September. I spoke to Mary last year, and she was saying that our new leaf disposal yard would be open sometime this year. And I thought it would kind of be nice to have some sort of a speaker that could kind of tell us about what the benefits of using leaf mulch and all that kind of stuff would be, so that we could kind of introduce our new leaf yard and what these benefits would be, and then have this speaker that would be kind of appropriate for it. For those of you who aren't familiar with who Mike McGrath is, Mike hosts a nationally syndicated public radio show called You Bet Your Garden, which airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. on WHYY in Philadelphia. You Bet Your Garden is also the name of Mike's column in the quarterly gardening publication called Green Prints, which has appeared in every issue since 1998. Mike was also editor-in-chief of Organic Gardening magazine from February of 1991 to December of 1997. His most recent publication, he's done a lot of books on growing tomatoes, and he's just this really, his radio show, if you haven't listened to it, or if you have listened to it, he's kind of comical, and I think he would be a really great speaker for us. He is a bit of a celebrity in the organic gardening world, if that's what you're into. And I just thought that it would bring a lot more people to our meetings and get everybody interested in our township and in our meetings. And so anyway, I'm putting this forward to the board, thinking that this may be a really good person to come and speak, but he does charge a fee, and we did not put this in the budget.
I'd like to make a comment. We try to balance the meetings. The first one is March 24th. Jerry, thank you for saying yes for representing the EAC at this. But all of our township volunteer chairs of our commissions and the Environmental Advisory Council will be telling what they do and who they are. In June, we're having June 12th, there's a woman who has written a book about General Greene, who stayed at Moore Hall in Schuylkill Township when Washington was at Valley Forge. And then, pardon me, November 1st, we had Founders Day, which is also historical. So when Martha and I were talking about what things were going to happen during the course of this year, we thought it was really appropriate, as John Sartor had presented all about water last year, would be very appropriate to have something environmental in September.
We've had the motion, it's been seconded, we've had discussion. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? So moved.
Thank you. I will inform him.
Looking forward to
Tomorrow.
it.
All right, the next item is the presentation and discussion of the Historical Commission Phase 2 survey data. Sandy's not here. Barbara, you were at the meeting. Do you know what she wants here?
Off the top
You want to
of,
just table it till next month?
yeah, I think it would be better for Sandy to explain
Okay,
it in
yeah.
detail.
Yeah, I
No
think
problem.
Sandy
Yeah.
would be better to do it. I think we need to table it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Motion is tabled. Discussion Environmental Advisory Council, Jerry Odell and Steve. Jerry?
Good evening, and I'm Jerry Odell. I'm a member of the EAC, and as
Now
of
chairman.
last week, I am
Congratulations.
chair of the EAC. Thank you. And to begin, Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the board for allowing me to speak here tonight, and I'll be very brief, I promise. But I want to begin, I just want to second Kevin and Barbara. The roads crew did a fabulous job this week. It's really, I've been in commercial landscaping business pretty much my whole life. And the snow we had on Monday, it was wet, heavy, a lot of it. It was a tough snow. And then to add insult to injury, what we had this past last couple of days has been absolutely mind-boggling. The roads crew has done, and also the police department, they have done just a fabulous job, and I just commend them for it. So, to begin, I'm here tonight, and I'm here to respectfully ask that the EAC or the board would consider reappointing Marlou Gregory to the EAC. I've been on the council for going on 7 years now, and I don't remember her. She has always been a part of it, and she is a friend, but more importantly, she is her expertise in stormwater management and her contribution. I mean, it's second to none, and I think she's, I think we need her, and I'd love to keep her on, and I think she's her contribution is it's just like I said, second to none. And as I said, I've been in commercial landscaping pretty much my whole life, and even though I closed my business down in 2011, I've kept my certifications, and like for example, my arborist certification, and just to kind of, as part of networking, and also just to see what's important in the industry. And when I go to these seminars and these symposiums for my CEU credits, these last couple of years, the main topics have always been, ecological landscaping, but the role trees play in stormwater management. My background, my experience in the subject is rudimentary. And now that I'm chair, and I'm going to be sitting over there, and there'll be a real estate developer, a builder, a civil engineer, sitting here describing, going over their stormwater system in elaborate detail, I would like to be able to either turn to my left or turn to my right and say, Marlou, what do you think? And I know we'll have a good expert opinion. So anyhow, I'll leave it at that. And again, I just, I really appreciate you, giving me the time to share my thoughts with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Steve?
I just want to, I'll echo what Jerry said. I've been on the EAC now 20 years. One of the founding members, I guess. And in the 20 years, it's never been clear to me exactly what the procedure is. Well, early on, we didn't even have terms. We were just serving until somebody decided to leave. And then I'm not sure exactly when we instituted 3-year terms, and that's a good thing. But even then, it seemed to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least in my case, I wasn't always asked, did I want to continue to serve? Everybody seemed to assume, and I did too, that I did want to continue to serve unless I told someone otherwise. And indeed, this year, the 2 people whose terms were expiring, mine and Marlou, we were asked, did we want to continue to serve? Unfortunately, neither of us responded, so we were remiss in that. And I wasn't able to attend your meeting in January, and the first I heard about what transpired was in an email that Jim sent the next day. And by what he said in the email, I and just about everybody else got the strong impression that I had been reappointed, and it was decided, the word decision was in the email, it was decided that Marlou would not be reappointed. And the reason explained was that he had heard that she had taken a job in Maryland, and that he supposed that she might not be able to give 100% to the township, and that we need people who are going to give 100%. So I watched the video of the meeting to see what the discussion was about Marlou and who voted which way. And I was surprised to see that there was no discussion about Marlou. There was no discussion about me either, but there was a vote on me. But there was no discussion on Marlou, and there was no vote on Marlou, at least in the video. And I thought that was odd. And I thought it was unfair that the first she learned about it was in Jim's email the next day. And in fact, there had been a discussion before you got to the EAC on the zoning hearing board. And it was a similar kind of thing. And there was a gentleman who had served the town, and Marlou has served for 6 years now, at least 6 years, maybe 7 years, if she came on with Jerry. And there was a discussion of a gentleman who had served the township for many years, and his term had expired. And there was a discussion about, well, if we just don't reappoint him, he's done. And I was happy to see Barbara said, well, I don't think that's really fair. You know, I mean, he served the township many years. He should at least have been approached, explained why he's not being reappointed. And so the vote finally was taken up, and I was happy to see that he was reappointed. And so, I just thought that Marlou should have had the same consideration. And it's, it just doesn't look good for future EAC members who might want to be on the EAC to see how, they're treated in that way. So again, I would echo what Jerry said. I think Marlou, and her not being reappointed leaves us one person short. So we need to find somebody who's qualified and has expertise that we could use, and the best person I can think of is Marlou. So, I would echo Jerry and say that we'd ask you to vote tonight to reappoint her, because, we all want her back, and we believe she deserves that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Do I hear any discussion?
I have to say that I had some problems in the past with her factual representations. And I'm sorry I can't give any more specifics than the legal representation she mentioned being changed for poly builders, which turned out not to be the case. She made this, there was no executive session here. This was a public EAC meeting. Turned out not to be the case when I confronted both Mr. Pollack and Mr. Snyder. So that's sort of the tail end of a bunch of stuff. I also am scratching my head as to what Marlou has ever initiated okay? There are projects that both Jerry and Steve have initiated, but that sort of bothers me. So, and then finally, just to be upfront about all this, she has not had the best of relationships with some of the board members. I'm not pointing fingers, but also administration. If it gets to the point where she sends an email to our township manager and the township manager doesn't respond, that's a problem, okay? That's a really significant problem. So, those are some of my observations, some of the reasons why I would not be in favor of reappointing her.
I can only speak for myself. And obviously I have an interest in the environment as I do in historic preservation. Jerry, it was my pleasure to serve with you on the task force for Valley Park. And we may not have agreed whether a trail should be paved or whether it should be wood chips. Okay, my look at it is, how are we going to get money to do it if we don't do it in accordance with handicapped accessibility? But I listened to you, and you listened to me. And that is a way to approach governance. You leave your ego at the door, and you come in with an open, objective mind. And from my own perspective, I'm not going to get into specific things that occurred and more specific things that never occurred. But I will say communication, respect, and civility are key in terms of all of this. We may not all agree on an approach to something, but we listen to each other. We communicate with each other, okay? I would, despite what you have presented as Marlu's qualifications, it is my very strong and honest belief it would not be good for the township for Marlu to be reappointed. And that is an objective approach, nothing personal, but for the sake of the township, I think we can find someone with the proper credentials that you're talking about. We have 8,500 people. We have a very high qualifications and a lot of people in the area here. So I want to respect you enough to respond at another time in another place. I can give you specific examples, but I don't want to take more time. But for the sake of the township, civility, objectivity, and the ability to compromise and listen to someone else. If these are very important things, whether those of us who are elected or those of you who are serving as volunteers.
Martha?
No, I'm fine. No comment.
Kevin?
Jerry, my only question for you, as chairman of the EAC, how important is Marlo to you? I mean, you're going to be leading this team, and everyone, you're going to have your team with you, and you're going to have someone who's going to be an expert in somewhere. I mean, I look at Jim as the ordinance expert, and his knowledge on ordinance is absolutely, by far, astounding compared to, I don't know how he learned all that much stuff. I look at Barb as the trail expert and everything. Fred is an all-around expert. Martha is the treasurer. So hopefully we rely on, what?
I'm kidding.
So hopefully we rely on everybody else. And where is it that Marlo will come in for you? Because, I mean, you're going to be the chairman. Hopefully you're going to be communicating with us. And I know there's some issues here that maybe it's her is no longer the chairman of the, but you can leverage that knowledge. I don't want that knowledge to walk away when we have it and she's willing to dedicate her volunteer time to the township. And if Jerry says, I can't do my job unless I have Marlo, then we need to reconsider it. I mean, I go to him and say, what are your thoughts? Because we rely on our commissions on everything. And you guys come to us and say, this is what we approve, this is what we don't. And hopefully I take everything at heart, what you guys bring to us. And I read it and I review it. And I know some people have some issues with it, but we don't have to deal with them day in and day out. Jerry does.
Before they respond, let me just add something here. Not specifically about Marlowe, it's just the process here.
Okay.
We have typically, when we've had projects and developments, involved the EAC for their comments. And it really seems to revolve mostly around saving the trees, saving the shrubs, preserving the riparian buffers, preserving the waters and the wetlands, and making sure that all those things are paid attention to. But stormwater is one of those, unfortunately or unfortunately, highly technical topics or subjects that our township engineer, I think, can attest to. And what speaks to that is the length and complexity of our stormwater ordinance.
Right.
All right? And so this stormwater ordinance is the filter through which these developers have to currently go in order to satisfy good stormwater management procedures. Now, even beyond that, it's also the filter through which homeowners have to go, since it's a standalone ordinance, so it applies to both the developers, well, am I correct on this? It applies to the developers as well as landowners.
Applies to both.
Yeah. A lot of the so-called expertise, if you will, is really sort of encapsulated in our zoning ordinance, or actually it's a standalone ordinance, not the zoning ordinance, but it's in this particular ordinance. And that in turn gets interpreted from an engineering standpoint when it comes either to, again, a development application, developer, or a complicated building permit situation. So I just say that expertise is relative. I think when all is said and done, our reliance in terms of stormwater control is ultimately on our township engineer, and not so much more on the township engineers. To some degree, the EAC makes comments, and I'm sure can make contributions. But technically speaking, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's my view.
And I have to second.
He has to respond.
I was just going to respond.
One at a time, please.
I wanted to follow up with what Jim said out of respect to you, Jerry. I didn't want to be specific, but in terms of specificity, we were considering a major purchase, that is Valley Park, okay? Jim and I went and walked that property with John Sartor, our engineer, and it was determined that there would be parking available, even though there are environmental constraints, as you would know better than any of us. My vote to acquire that property was based on the fact that the public would have access to it. And this, John Sartor showed us exactly where and how more parking would be available to the public. Marlou came out at a meeting in public and she stated that there's no way that you could park any cars there, in contradiction to what our own township engineer was saying. And she was found to be incorrect. So I don't want to be specific and I don't want to get personal. She is a good person. She served as a volunteer for several years, and I'm objective in how I approach something like this. And my opinion is based on her, for lack of a better word, her lack of expertise in something where she just, for whatever reason, didn't want it to happen and said, no, you're not going to be able to park there. When her own engineer, and my vote on acquiring that property was dependent upon the public being able to visit the place. Does that answer you, Kevin?
I want to hear Jerry's.
Well, to answer both of you, I fully agree. I mean, John and Gilmore Associates are our stormwater management. But when we have an EAC meeting, they won't be at every meeting. And when we start getting into areas of, when we have Steve here with the wetlands, I can handle the trees, the landscape design, things like that. You get into the storm water management where it really encompasses everything and how everything kind of fits in with ecological design, wetlands, everything. She can kind of maybe not give it, we don't want a whole, we want a kind of synopsis or, you know, how does this all fit in or what does this do? And she does that. She does that very well for us, for our needs on the EAC. And to get in more involved in everything, yes, then we do go to Gilmore, we go to John to find that out. But she'll answer the questions, she brings things up that, oh, that's a good point, that's a good point. And she might be wrong, or might, you know, you might, after you get all the information, that it might go a little farther than what she says, and she might be incorrect, but at the same time, she does bring up some valid points and some, and it starts the thought process for us. That's how I would.
Can either of you answer the idea that, being she's working in Maryland now, how many meetings she would miss?
Yeah, well, what she has told me is her schedule is flexible. And she said she wanted to not be chair, she's been chair for, I don't know.
4 or 5 years, I know.
Yeah, she wanted not to be chair because of that.
I was there
Because
when,
that would entail more meetings, you know, township meetings and such. But that she, you know, would be able to adjust her schedule because it was flexible enough that she'd be able to make the meetings. And so that didn't seem to.
well, there's no question, she has the wealth of experience. There's no question in my mind about that. I think sometimes she goes too deep into it, but that's our own personal traits.
Can I just say one more thing? You know, and Kevin was asking, but you were saying, you know, I mean, stormwater is sort of her major thing, but she really, and like Gary was just saying, she's more of a generalist. She takes the big picture, and she sees how the stormwater and the wetlands and the trees and how all of this relates to water quality protection. You know, I mean, she's good in that way in sort of putting the whole picture together. And I mean, I have to say that she really does care about this township.
I'm sure she does. I just feel that we ought to have the opportunity to have somebody else serve at this time for the sake of the township. Somebody who's more of a team player. I'll leave it that way.
If I can just say one more thing to answer Kevin's question. The EAC, we are not, and I think sometimes it looks a little bit, we're not an adversarial group. I don't want to be that way. We are an internal advisory council. The board makes the decision. We'll do the best we can to, you know, look at the environmental issues and everything and make, you know, give some advice based on that. But it's your decision to do that. We are an internal group. We're not out there standing alone. You know, and I want to, you know, everybody to be clear about that. We're part of the township organization, and that's how, you know, we're going to run it.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? I would entertain a motion or not. Does anybody want to make a motion to retain her or not?
No.
Or if you don't make a motion, then she stays not.
She can be a volunteer and help the EAC without actually serving on the EAC if she is motivated. Jerry, you can ask for her help and advice, I'd like to see a new person, should you have, you know, the woman who came here, she lives on Oakwood Lane. In terms of the stormwater on her property, she handled that
Lori
extremely.
Starsky.
Pardon me?
Lori.
Yeah, I think there really are alternatives to Marlou, okay? And maybe we can have breakfast sometime and I can share with you in a way that's appropriate why I feel the way I do.
Just one other comment here, just generally in terms of the structure of the EAC. It's set up for, at the moment, for 7 members and 2 associates or alternates, if you will. Right now, without Marlo on the EAC at the moment, if you want to do the count, you actually have 7 people. Okay, so if you assume that one of those alternates is going to become a regular member, so then what you're missing is not a regular member, but you're missing an alternate or associate or 2.
And for this sake, I want to compliment, said Steve, he was at the regional planning from the EAC. Mike, okay.
Yeah.
I would like to compliment him because we chatted briefly at the regional planning meeting, and I don't know whether Jim reported as our liaison. The township is hopeful that we might be able, if we receive the funding for which we're applying, to do a feasibility study for establishing what we're calling a freedom trail, or, as per the suggestion from Chester County folks, the Medal of Honor Trail. It would go from Valley Forge National Park through Freedom's Foundation, possibly the Girl Scout property, the Valley Forge Christian College property, perhaps skirt the perimeter. I've been in touch with the McAvoys and let them know what might or might not be coming down. We're working with Chris Green, who worked with us on the Valley Park, and it's a work in progress, but I wanted, for the sake of openness and transparency, to make you aware of what's happening. Keep your fingers crossed that we get the grant funding. We have a piece of it in our budget, but in order to do this, we need to receive the grants for which we're in the process of requesting. But I'll keep Jim posted, and he can report to the EAC what is or is not happening. Okay? But I wanted to compliment Mike Roscoe for reaching out and expressing an interest in what we're doing. And as we're lucky enough to get these grants, I would suggest that Mike be part of the task force, just as you led with Valley Park, that Mike might be a part of the team in terms of the feasibility study.
All right, it's my
Could I
understanding.
just make 2 quick points? I would just ask the board in the future, and you've done this in the past with EAC members, but in the future, if you have concerns with a member and you decide ahead of time that you're not going to reappoint them, I would ask that you talk to them, take them aside before a vote or non-vote, and discuss your concerns with them. And maybe you'll change your mind.
No, I agree with that.
You're right.
Any good business, any good organization would do that.
Right.
Just one point, Steve, I respect what you're saying, however, the board can't vote in advance. It's that business of, you can't decide in advance. So individuals can talk, and if there's, in other words, no one can go in advance of a meeting and say, we've decided to do this or not to do this.
Right, well, it wouldn't be to talk about a decision necessarily, I understand that, but to talk about concerns that individuals or the whole board may have. That would be one thing. And the other thing is that Jerry and I came here tonight specifically to ask him, the EAC at our last meeting, we voted to recommend that the board take a vote tonight on Marlene's reappointment. So I would repeat that we would like you to take a vote.
Well, I think you can go 2 ways on that. First of all, I would like to thank you 2 gentlemen for coming and presenting the case. However, the vote has been taken. No one's going to make, is anyone going to make the motion? If not, the motion has been made and been
Let
passed.
me be clear, legally, the board can only act if there is a motion. If there's no motion, you move on to the next item. So that's how it works, in other words.
Oh, okay.
So no one made a motion, so then there's nothing happens.
Right.
So you're,
Maybe I just asked it wrong. I would ask.
There's no need for,
vote to
we
make a
already,
motion.
we
Make a
already
motion.
approved this
Yeah.
at the reorganization meeting. What? We already made a
vote.
decision at that time.
Well, it was a non-decision, there was no discussion at all. On the video, maybe there was some other place and time, but the video showed no discussion of Marlou, and no vote, and no non-vote or motion for a
Hmm?
vote.
Move on? Okay.
the public cannot force a board to make a motion.
I understand.
So you can request it, and
Right.
if no one makes a motion,
I
the issue
understand.
is done with. So
Right.
that's.
I think we should
Right.
move
I just
on.
wanna be
All right,
clear
move
that there was
on.
no
Just a minute.
decision.
Give me a break.
Because there was no discussion, there was no,
Well, the decision was made indirectly by virtue of there not being a motion to
well,
appoint.
not a decision, but it was different from the previous EHB decision.
It was a result.
Non-decision decision.
Well, Steve, we went into a pretty big discussion this evening, and, I mean, if you guys, I know you guys, your AC recommended the board to make a motion. I make the motion to reappoint Marlou to the board of the EAC. If that helps you out.
Thank you.
And now,
Do I hear a second?
no second.
Yeah, in a second.
All right, well, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, should we move on?
Okay.
The discussion of the PSAD.
Thanks.
And I also want to publicly thank Jerry, because returned phone calls and responded with stuff that's going to be in our spring newsletter. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Discussion for the PSAD request to meet with township consultants.
If I may, Fred, I'll pick up on this briefly.
We had a meeting, go ahead.
Okay, the district condemned Meadowbrook, as you know, there's some controversy there. They want to move ahead, they want to show progress. We had a meeting here with their entire group, and I forget who was here. Fred was here, John, Mary Lou, Jim was, name it. They requested an opportunity to meet with our engineers, with Yerkes, with John and Mary Lou, and I suggested in an email they set up the meetings, but that to have these meetings in advance, we would seek the board's approval. I have no problem with meeting. It's legally appropriate to do that. We're just getting ahead of what is a big project. The only request that I thought should be discussed was their offer to pay the costs and expenses of our team in the meeting process. And generally speaking, the general view of that from the solicitors that I talk to is that it's good in the short run because you get money back for the time of your experts. However, there is a loss of objectivity and a loss of independence, more so when you deal with a private developer. If Toll Brothers comes in and says, we'll pay John Sartor to look over our plan, well then, once the plan comes in, when you vote on it, your engineer's already given his approval. Your hands are tied, not, it's a problem. And less so, but the same idea here. If John works with them to present a plan, and there's something about it that you don't like, well, your engineer's already approved it. And if you take the big view of this, it's really township, it's citizen money in one pocket or the other. So my, I try to stay to legal matters. There's a bit of a concern about them paying our people. I think we're more independent if we pay our own people, but meeting is fine.
I have
Excuse me, I
Go ahead.
think what you're referring to is a before the fact payment, before the preliminary plan is actually submitted.
Anytime.
Well, the school district in this instance is a developer, essentially, all right? So that when that preliminary plan from them comes in, it's fully appropriate for our engineer to review
Oh,
that
yes,
plan.
sure, yeah.
Okay, so, and if.
I'm not
if
saying
we-
waive
if-
that.
If we follow our standard procedure, then they are reimbursing us for that review.
Yes, I'm talking about the special.
Yeah. So there's two categories here.
Right, okay, good point.
Well, then what's the difference between that and a pass-through?
This is before the pass-through. They haven't filed anything yet. They want help in setting up what they file. And they want help in crafting an ordinance that will need to be revised to their wishes in connection with the filing. They want to move their project into the public facility zone. They want to, for example, change the height limitation. They want to do some planning and some engineering work before they file.
Okay.
And Jim made a good correction, that's right. Once they file, it's a pass-through. They want help now, they want to pay, and I have some concerns about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I, am I allowed to ask Norm how he feels about this, since he is now our acting manager?
We're getting into a very sore area, because I have a royal hate on for anything from the school district.
There's a different cast of characters now, Norm.
It is very difficult for me to approach this objectively, even with Dr. Peggy coming on the picture. In general, I think I share Bill's concern. If you start paying these people early on, you've lost your objectivity. And it's worth the township risking its own money if they participate in a meeting such as this.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what the school district is proposing. I get very, very, very concerned if they want to change the zoning, they want to change height limitations and things like that. I just don't trust them.
Okay, let's move on.
And in response, if I could, in response to your comment, Norm, we're not dealing with the school board, who we all recognize in some instances can present issues for us, okay? We're talking about the administration that's just basically trying to implement a school board decision, which is basically to locate the school on that property. So hopefully we can look at this from a glass half full positive viewpoint and work with it.
Right. I would indicate, as Jim
Bill?
has,
Now, one other.
the different cast of characters,
Yeah,
Norm.
yeah. One other thing, one other comment I want to make here is it looks like at this particular point in time, that from an engineering standpoint, the biggest issue looming out there at the moment is the transportation issue.
It is.
Okay. And how do you configure the entrances and, you know, even, you know, the streets to accommodate all this? So, that's just for the board generally, for your
Bill?
information.
To tie this up, there should be a motion to allow our experts to meet with them before a plan is filed.
But we don't want them to pay for
Then
it.
we'll pay our own expenses.
So
Okay.
it's legally okay for John to be at a meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
You want to make that motion then?
I want to make motions. Right?
Okay, do you want to?
I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry,
You want to?
I'm sorry.
As stated by our esteemed Mr. Brennan, I'd like to make the motion to give Gilmore Associates, as represented by John Sartor, to participate in meetings with the Phoenixville Area School District
And Yerkes.
and Yerkes.
Do I
I'll
hear a
second.
sec? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, we'll move on. Resolutions and ordinances. Motion to approve Resolution 2414. Now, this is 06, but you have on my resolution, it says 07.
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
07 on
Says
here.
07
Is this
here.
the Historic Commission?
No.
Oh,
No.
no, Vision Partnership Grant.
Is this 06 or 07?
The one I got was 06.
I have resolution 20.
Yeah,
2014.
Fred is exactly right. It says 06 on the agenda and 07 on top of the agenda.
I understand that. That's what I
was
said.
explaining to
Should be
Madeline.
07.
So the motion should say 07.
Not 06.
Correct.
Okay, the motion is to approve Resolution 2014-07, authorizing application to the 2014 Chester County Planning Commission Vision Partnership Grant Program for Freedom Trail Feasibility Study. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just for the board's information, that This grant is, application is due March 12th.
Right.
Okay.
Just pray I get my electricity back so I can write it.
Next item is the motion to approve and to adopt 2014-01, an amendment to an ordinance creating all historical commission, decreasing the membership of the commission from 12 members to 9 members and 2 alternates. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next item is a motion to approve as a condition of final subdivision approval for 297 South Whitehorse Road, the fire hydrant location just west of the intersection of Whitehorse Road and Mill Road. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion,
Yeah, I'll
Um,
second it, but I
okay.
think there needs
I'll
to be
make
some.
a
but
comment.
somebody explain what we're doing.
Yeah, this is basically to approve the condition to the final approval, being a new fire hydrant to be installed on South Whitehorse Road.
Okay?
I took a close look at this, which I have to say, our fire marshal did not quite, measure up in terms of looking at this closely. But
Jim might have the largest plan.
yeah, that's okay, that's all right. I took the scale and mapped it out. I don't know whether you've done the same in terms of the length.
Yes.
I come up with roughly 400 feet to
Yes.
get to the back of the house. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's certainly within our standard 600 feet distance from a fire hydrant. And, I don't see a problem.
And there isn't one. They have shown on a plan that they provided to our office, the location of the fire hydrant. It's about 140 feet from the intersection of Mill Road and South Whitehorse Road toward the proposed development, and as Jim said, about 400 feet plus or minus to the proposed building. And the fire marshal, as I understand it in his email, has reviewed it, and he has found the location to be satisfactory.
But the reason why we need to make this motion is because in his original plan, it was in a different place, is that correct?
No, the applicant did not show a fire hydrant on the original plan submission.
Okay.
This came about as a result of a planning commission meeting in September when the applicant originally asked for a waiver to show a fire hydrant to install a fire hydrant near the
That's right,
intersection.
you're right, I
The
forgot
planning
about
commission
that.
said, no, we want a fire hydrant at this point along Whitehorse Road. The applicant withdrew their waiver request, said, we'll give it to you, provided a plan that showed the location.
Okay.
We looked at it, and the fire marshal looked at it. We are, both Gilmore and the fire marshal are okay with the location.
No, you're right, that was back in September, it
That
was a
back
while
in
ago.
September. So it was a condition of your
Right.
approval of the plan in November
Okay,
that
Understood.
this had to still be provided. So
Okay.
this is just closing that loop for you.
Okay.
I just have another comment on this. In the future, I think if we're gonna get the fire department involved, okay, to do a review, they need a readable big plan to look at. I'm assuming they did not have that. Is that it?
I don't know, Jim, whether the fire marshal had a paper copy of the plan or whether he just had an electronic copy.
In his email, he
I
seemed to have trouble interpreting it.
I don't know what, I know it sounded to me like, from the email that, yes, he was looking at it on a computer screen.
Yeah, okay, all right, but I think we need to make sure that we get the detail to the reviewer.
Generally, what we have done in the past when we've communicated with the applicant's engineer, we have always told them, get a hard copy to the township office
Mhm.
so that they can provide a hard copy to the fire marshal.
Yeah. All right, well.
Okay, I've heard a motion, I've heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. If you'll turn your agenda over, there's another motion.
Right.
A motion to approve the escrow release number 5 for the Spring Meadows of McCain Trailer Park project in the amount of $4,884.57 per Gilmore Associates letter dated January 30th, 2014. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Great, thank you.
Are there any more 2-minute reports? Is there any more additional business?
Nope.
I just want to announce that Schuylkill River Heritage Center is hosting Elizabeth Milroy on Tuesday, March 11th. She is the curator for education and public programs at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And she's going to come and talk about how people who were crowded into historic colonial Philadelphia had homes along the Schuylkill River, and that became the core or the roots of what became Fairmount Park. So the program is free. It's open to the public on 7:30 on Tuesday, March 11th. Thank you, Fred.
Okay. There's no public participation. I'm going to ask for adjournment and moving into executive session. And since we now had the motion, we have also a new temporary township manager. I'd like to invite him to the executive session, please, so he could catch up on some of the things that we're discussing.
So you need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So moved. I'll go 5-minute recess.
Yes, ma'am.
Phoenix property. They're all signed.
I'd like to reconvene our Schuylkill Township Supervisors meeting at 9:46. We were in session for personnel and litigation matters. There's nothing more to discuss for our business meetings. I would entertain a motion to adjourn our regular Schuylkill Township Board meeting.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right.
Stay safe and get home safely.
And no school tomorrow.
Bill, stay warm.